The mahogany doors of the Privy Council chamber burst open with a force that sends papers flying and teacups rattling against their saucers. Every head in the room snaps toward the entrance like they've just heard a gunshot. Standing in the doorway, silhouetted against the corridor's dim lighting, is Prince Harry. But this isn't the Harry you remember from royal weddings or charity galas. This Harry has fire in his eyes and something clutched in his right hand that's making the Archbishop of Canterbury's face drain of all color. The meeting wasn't supposed to exist. Officially, the senior royals were at their respective estates, dealing with personal matters. But here they are, King Charles, Prince William, Princess Anne, even the Queen Consort, all gathered around that ancient oak table that's witnessed centuries of royal secrets. And Harry was supposed to be 3,000 miles away in California. Don't move a muscle. Harry's voice cuts through the silence like a blade through silk. His American accent has gotten stronger, but the authority in his voice, that's pure Windsor. The king's private secretary reaches for his phone, but Harry's glare stops him mid-motion. I said don't move, Geoffrey. This concerns all of you. Princess Anne, never one to back down from a fight, leans forward. Harry, you have no business being here. This is a private family matter. Family matter? Harry lets out a laugh that has zero humor in it. That's rich, coming from you, Aunt Anne, especially considering what I know about the Balmoral incident. The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. William's face has gone from confused to pale to something approaching terrified, because there's only one Balmoral incident that could make the heir to the throne look like he's seen a ghost. What did you just say? William's voice is barely above a whisper. Harry steps into the room, and now everyone can see what he's holding. It's a manila envelope, thick with documents, and the way he's gripping it suggests it contains something that could change everything. 3 days ago, I received a very interesting phone call, Harry begins, pacing slowly around the table like a prosecutor addressing a jury, from someone who used to work very closely with this family. Someone with access to files that were supposed to be destroyed years ago. The Queen Consort's jewelry catches the light as her hands tremble slightly. King Charles has that look he gets when he's trying to solve a particularly difficult crossword puzzle, except this time, the stakes are infinitely higher. The call was about a decision this family made in 1997. A decision that affected not just one person, but potentially changed the entire line of succession. Harry stops directly across from his father. Should I continue? Or would someone like to explain to me why there are documents suggesting that my mother never actually signed the divorce papers? The silence that follows is so complete you could hear a pin drop in the Tower of London. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. Princess Anne slowly reaches into her handbag and pulls out her own envelope. She places it on the table with a thud that echoes through the chamber. Harry, she says, her voice steady as stone. Before you say another word, you need to see this. William's eyes dart between his aunt and his brother like he's watching a tennis match that could determine the fate of the monarchy. The king hasn't moved, hasn't even blinked, but there's something in his expression that suggests he's been waiting for this moment for a very long time. What is that? Harry demands, but his voice has lost some of its edge. Uncertainty is creeping in. Anne opens her envelope and spreads out several photographs across the table. They're old, from the 1990s, but clear enough to see faces, locations, timestamps. These, Anne says, are photographs of your mother meeting with someone 3 weeks before the car accident in Paris, someone who was not supposed to exist according to the official records. Harry's world tilts. The envelope in his hand suddenly feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. The person who called you, Anne continues, the one with access to those files? That person has been feeding information to various parties for years. They've been waiting for the right moment to destabilize the crown. But the divorce papers, Harry starts, were signed, King Charles finally speaks, his voice heavy with decades of secrets. But not by your mother, by someone authorized to sign on her behalf, which made them legally binding but complicated. The Queen Consort leans forward. Harry, your mother discovered something in those final weeks, something about the family that she couldn't live with. These photos show her meeting with a journalist preparing to go public. Harry's legs give out slightly, and he grabs the back of a chair for support. You're saying someone knew she was going to expose the family? We're saying, William's voice is barely audible, that the car accident might not have been an accident. The room spins. Everything Harry thought he knew, everything he's believed for the past 27 years, is crumbling like a house of cards in a hurricane. But why tell me this now? Harry asks. Why not let me make a fool of myself with whatever's in this envelope? Princess Anne's expression softens, just slightly. Because, nephew, you're still family, and because the person who's been feeding you information isn't trying to help you find the truth. They're trying to use you to destroy us all. Harry looks down at the envelope in his hands. What's really in here? Forgeries, the king says quietly. Very good ones, but forgeries nonetheless. If you had presented them publicly, it would have created a scandal that would have ended the monarchy. But more importantly, it would have covered up the real truth about what happened to your mother. The weight of revelation settles on Harry's shoulders like a lead blanket. He's been played, but by whom? And why? There's something else, Anne says, pulling out one final photograph. This was taken yesterday, outside your hotel in London. The photo shows Harry entering the Savoy Hotel, but in the background, barely visible, is a figure in a dark coat. The same figure that appears in the photographs with his mother from 1997. They're still here, Anne says simply. Still working, still waiting. Harry's mind races. Then everything I thought I knew about the family, about why I left, about the media treatment, about Meghan. Some of it was real, Charles says gently, but some of it was orchestrated, amplified, directed. The prince who walked into that room ready to expose his family's secrets now faces a choice that will define not just his future, but the future of the British crown itself. He looks around the table at faces he's known his entire life, seeing them clearly for perhaps the first time. These aren't just the people who drove him away. They're also the people who've been protecting him from a truth so dangerous that it's worth killing for. Harry sets the envelope down on the table and pushes it toward his father. Then I guess, he says, his voice steady despite everything, we have work to do. The camera would fade to black there, leaving viewers with a million questions. Was Harry really being manipulated? Is the royal family hiding something about Diana's death? And most importantly, what happens next? Because in the world of royal drama, the biggest revelations aren't always the ones you expect. Sometimes, the real story is about the lengths people will go to protect the people they love, even when those people think they're enemies. And sometimes, the person you trust the least is the one who's been protecting you all along. The end. But wait, there's more. Next episode, the photograph that changed everything. Because this story, this is just the beginning.